Hello, this is RV Vagabond Jerry. And now that winter is getting here, I bet some of you are still trying to decide where to go in your RV for the winter, where you can stay reasonably warm. Well, I think there's really basically just 4 places in the United States where you can go. A lot of places to go in the summer to stay reasonably cool. But for the winter and be able to stay reasonably warm, there's basically just these 4 places. So I'm going to go to my computer, pull up Google Maps, and show you just where these places are and give you some details. So let's check it out. So the 4 places is Central Florida, Southern Louisiana, Southern Texas, and the deserts in the Southwest. So let me give you some more details, starting with Florida. I spent a couple winters in Florida, going pretty much everywhere down the Key West and pretty much the whole state. And I found that the southern half of the state, from about Tampa, Orlando, that area there, going south, in the winter is actually, you might say, too hot. I would still be wanting to use my air conditioner in like January, February. So it's too warm for me, although some people just really like it that warm. But really, the most moderate places in Florida is the central area, from above Tampa up to like Ocala. Once you get above Ocala, like in the Tallahassee area and in the Florida Panhandle, it's really kind of too cold, I think. Too cold in the north, too warm in the south. The central area is the more moderate temperatures. Now, RV parks in Florida are pretty expensive, especially in the winter when they're the most popular. People from the north coming down south to spend the winter. And the place that I think has the most reasonably priced RV parks are in the little town of Bushnell, which is right here. And as you can see, there is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's like over a dozen RV parks in and around the Bushnell area here. And the RV parks around here are cheaper because they're not on the ocean. Now, Bushnell, which is right here, is fairly close to the west coast. It's quite a ways from the east coast, but another convenience is that it is also fairly close to Orlando, where there is all sorts of amusement parks like Disney. It's also fairly close to Tampa, so it's a fairly convenient location. It's just that you're not going to be camping near a beach. Now, the second location I want to tell you about is Southern Louisiana. And a few years ago, I spent an entire winter from November to March all in the area in and around Lake Pontchartrain here. There are plenty of RV parks in and around New Orleans and Slidell and around the lake. There's also some good boondocking spots, and I did a video before about the boondocking spots around southern Louisiana. Not so much in New Orleans, but up around here and Slidell, and then down south of New Orleans, there are some good boondocking spots. If you don't want to stay in an RV park, the state campgrounds, there's like 3 state campgrounds that are south of New Orleans that are good. And of the winter that I stayed there, there was only about, I think it was maybe about 3 weeks or so in January when it really got cold. Other than that, it was really a pretty pleasant place to stay for a winter. And of course, that's when they have Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras is part in January and all of the month of February, some of the month of March. So in addition to have a reasonably comfortable weather-wise place to stay. You also get to go to a lot of the Mardi Gras parades and activities. Now let's go to South Texas. And I call South Texas, drawing this line from Eagle Pass over to Freeport. Below that line is what I call South Texas. Around the San Antonio to Houston area, it still can get pretty cold. To me, it's too cold for a winter. But once you get below here, going down south, the further south you get, the warmer it's going to be. And down here, from Rio Grande City to Padre Island, that is where it's going to be by far the warmest. And down here, my favorite place is Harlingen. There's a lot of places to boondock all around in South Texas, as well as RV parks are pretty much everywhere. Especially along here, there is just a ton of RV parks, because a lot of people from the northern states and Canada come down to South Texas to spend every winter. And they book these RV parks a month in advance. So if you want to book an RV park long term, like a month or more, you better make a reservation before you come. I spent several winters in South Texas, and I like to move around a lot. I'll start off at Eagle Pass, or sometimes I'll start off at Laredo and just go down here and then back up to Corpus Christi and then back to my home base just south of San Antonio. And by doing a little bit of skipping around, the west side of South Texas, doing this trip can take the whole winter. And then sometimes I'll do the east side of South Texas, and I'll plan that out so it'll consume up the whole winter. And the fourth place is the deserts in southwest Arizona, up to Las Vegas, and then down to south central area of California. And when I do the southwest deserts, I don't usually stay more than 2 weeks at a time in one place. Starting out at Tucson, Phoenix, and then I usually go over the Quartzsite and then follow the Colorado River up, going towards Las Vegas. I'll spend some time in Laughlin here. That's an interesting, good place to spend some time. And then go to Las Vegas, spend maybe a month around the Las Vegas, Henderson area. And then go down to Palm Springs, Indio, and anywhere around the Salton Sea. And there's a really good RV park I like that's right about here. There's also some good boondocking spots around Indio and this side of the Salton Sea. Then going down to El Centro, and then over to Yuma, and then from Yuma back over to Tucson. So anywhere within this sort of a circle area, which I call the Western Winter Circle. I've done that a couple of times, just take that whole route. And doing this whole route in a fairly small area of the country can consume an entire winter. I like to go from Phoenix to Quartzsite, spend at least like 2 or 3 weeks there, and then up to Parker, where there's a casino that has pretty much unlimited free parking in the parking lot, and then follow the Colorado River, Lake Havasu, Needles, and then up to Laughlin, or bypass all that and go directly from Phoenix to Las Vegas if you're in a little more of a rush. Palm Springs is really nice, and so is Yuma. So in the Southwest Desert, you can find a lot of places that will become your favorite places. Now, there's a lot of places to go to keep fairly cool in the summers. You're still going to need your air conditioner in the afternoons, but the mornings and the evenings get nice and cool. And this last summer, I did a trip through New Mexico, Colorado, and a little bit into Utah and Arizona, staying in the high elevation locations, and that turned out to be a very interesting trip, and I found some very cool places in the high elevations in those states as well. So there's a lot of high elevation places here up in the Rocky Mountains, and it's also nice and cool in the upper Michigan, especially in the upper peninsula here of Michigan. Also, most of Montana and the northern parts of North Dakota and Minnesota has some very cool summer places as well. Also, a lot of people like to go up to Washington and Oregon for the summers, and then of course into Canada and up to Alaska, which I have done as well. But in the winters, you pretty much just have 4 places to go: Central Florida, Southern Louisiana, South Texas, and the Southwest Desert. So if you skip around to those 4 places, then you'll have a lot of variety from year to year and not be stuck in one place every year, which to me can get pretty boring. I like to move around a lot. That makes it more interesting for me. But you do whatever works for you. These are just my suggestions from my experience over the last 7 years. Good day, folks.